Hey everyone, welcome back to Lit with Lex. So today we are going to be going over my June reading wrap up and then also my July reading wrap up because I went to Europe, so I was a little behind with filming my reading wrap ups. And then we're also going to go over August TBR, which is stacked full, so get ready. In June, I read 10 books, and then in July, I read 7, which is a little bit below my normal reading rate, but that is okay. So I'm just gonna go over them and tell you what I thought about them. And if you thought the same way about a certain book, comment, or if you felt completely different, comment too. I love hearing everyone's takes on all the books, and I love how one book can just have so many different, people thinking about it in different ways. And yeah, so let's get started. The first book that I finished in June is actually The Conditions of Will. So this book is gorgeous, just by itself gorgeous. So this was my very first book that I read from Jessa Hastings. I haven't read Magnolia Parks or anything yet, which I've heard amazing things. But I thought this book was great. It definitely wasn't my typical read. It felt like I was watching a reality TV show, and if you know me, I don't really watch TV, or I don't like reality TV. But this book, it had everything you needed. So it had some suspense, it had some mystery, it had some love, it had everything. But what I did like about this is the family dynamic. It just shows that not every family has their life together, and basically it's hard because you don't know what everyone's going through, and even your family doesn't know what you're going through. And Georgia really showed that, and she actually moved to England or London because of her family dynamic and what she wanted to do with life. And she really just, when she came back because of her dad's funeral, a lot became uncovered from her life that even her siblings didn't know about. And she was shunned by her family because of a certain instance, when really it was her getting raped, not her wanting it. And that just says a lot about some families and purity culture. And I thought it was great. The ending was amazing. If you know the ending, don't tell anyone. But I'm not going to fully review this book because the ending, that would be such a spoiler that you wouldn't even want to read the book. But if you like reality TV, this book is definitely for you. The next book I read in June was The Tenant. This book is by Freida McFadden. I love every thriller that she has ever written. She just is amazing. I don't know how else to phrase it. But, so this follows, this is actually, this book ended up being hilarious because of how it ended up. But it follows this couple that all of a sudden he gets his life together. He is shining star in his world, he's a VP, all this stuff, and then all of a sudden his life just takes a total dip. And him and his fiance, they live in a brownstone, it's super expensive, so now they have to get a tenant. And I don't want to review this all the way to spoil the ending, but I will say that you will never guess the ending. I did not. And that's saying a lot, because I've read so many thrillers and a lot of Frida thrillers as well, so I thought I would be able to catch the ending before it happened. Nope. You need to read this. It kept me on my toes, and it was a little funny because of how it ended. But I highly recommend, and if you've read this, let me know what you thought. I know some people didn't love it, but I definitely loved it. Next, I have it's by Elsie Silver. It's Off to the Races and a Photo Finish. So this is a part of the Gold Rush Ranch series, and these are my first books from Elsie Silver, and I could not put them down. I don't have them here with me, but they were amazing. So the Off to the Races is the enemies to lovers, and right from the jump, they're enemies. But the banter is bantering. It was amazing. This is definitely, I feel like all of her books are slow burn, but oh my gosh, it was so good. So I highly recommend reading. I need to finish the series. There's 2 other books, I'm 99% sure, but it was so good, and if you know me, I love a cowboy romance. So Elsie Silver, the woman that you are, keep it up. But a Photo Finish, so I rated both of these 4 out of 5 stars because they're both really good. Okay, so the second book, A Photo Finish, is actually insane because it follows Violet, and she had I don't know what to call it, a online persona that she basically was talking to this guy, but turns out 2 years later, so he ghosted her, okay? So then turns out 2 years later, all of a sudden she's a jockey, and guess who finds her? The grumpy brother. Yep. So it turns out that they know each other, and then the tensions are so high. There is a slight miscommunication trope, which is not my favorite. But this book, I could not put it down because I was just oh my gosh, the tension, the yearning, the everything. And I just thought it was so awesome, especially since they had a previous relationship that they didn't even know it was one another until later. Amazing. The next book I read in June was Shield of Sparrows, and this book was a great romantasy. The only issue was that it ended on such a big cliffhanger. So, if you don't love cliffhangers, then I would wait to read this until the next book is already out, because I am still waiting and I am still on that cliffhanger. So, basically, this is following, I forget her name. So this is following a princess, and her sister they think that she's about to be put up as, the sister is going to be put up for an arranged marriage. But then it ends up, once they walk in, she is taken for the arranged marriage. So, she goes with the king and his whole clan, and they end up, traveling, and then everyone a part of the king, though, thinks that she's a spy and that she is just there for the king to get info to him. And at first she is, but then she was like, wait a minute, no, this is sus, I trust y'all. And there's slow burn, tension, forced marriage, all of that fun stuff that goes in it, but it is such a massive cliffhanger. But there are so many little details that I cannot wait for the second book because I want more info. I need to know more, and that's why I rated this only 4 out of 5 stars, because I feel like some of it could have been answered in this first book and it wasn't, and that's what really got me. But I really did like this book, and yeah. So the next book we have is Caught Up. So this book, I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I love this book. I think there was a lot of heat towards Navessa Allen for this book because it wasn't like Lights Out. But they aren't the same characters. It's not going to be exactly like Lights Out because they have different personalities. And I think people were trying to, or were hoping that it was going to be like funny like Lights Out, in a way that it was like Josh's personality and how he's like a golden retriever boyfriend and all of that. But it's not, because they're completely different people. So this follows Nico and Lauren, and Lauren is basically an OnlyFans worker, and I also think that this got a lot of heat because she is a sex worker and stuff like that. But so she's a sex worker. Then it turns out, so they have history, but then it turns out that Nico was her very first subscriber and pays her all the time for the craziest videos. But anyway, they didn't find out, well, she didn't find out that it was him until way later on in the book, and we didn't either, so that was a plot twist for sure. But then, it's a slow burn, but then by the end, oh my gosh, I think it was the epilogue. Let me double check. Yes, the epilogue, guys, crazy. So this is spicy, but I loved it. It definitely wasn't like Lights Out, but it was amazing in its own way. And there is still that humor, that fun, but it is just a different way than Lights Out. The next book I read in June was My Sister the Serial Killer. So this book was absolutely insane. I was not ready for it. It was my very first book that I've read like this. But basically, her sister, I think it's Ayola. Oh, Coridi's sister, Ayola. So Coridi gets this call every few months saying that Ayola has murdered her boyfriend, and basically it goes through them trying not to get caught by the police and hiding the bodies and everything like that. And so Cordy is trying to have her sister not date anyone else because she's tired of cleaning up after her sister, and it's exhausting, which I get. So this book was so good. It kept me on my toes. I loved how thick the print was, and the chapters are so short. It's only like a page. I love short chapters. So if you haven't read this, go ahead. And it's perfect for like spooky season. So I would add this to your TBR. Next we have The Poppy War. I read this on my Kindle, so I don't have it physically. But this book was very good. It was very slow. And the chapters are, on my Kindle it says like an hour left in chapter, which is hard. But it is by R.F. Kuang, and I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. So this book was a perfect entry book. So there's some action, yes, but I would say probably 200 to 300 pages in, very slow, very world building, very just like introducing you to characters. Then after that it really picks up. Talk about female rage. That is this book. So insane. So she basically is a war orphan. Then she's just trying to get away from her parents who literally her adoptive parents who sell opiates, and has to sell them for them, and basically she's just treated like crap by them. So then she wants to get out. So she's taking these tests in order to go to Singad and be like, just get out of that city. And she does the most amazing thing ever, and she does amazing. She only takes 2 years to study for the test. She passes, and she is the #1 person, like the top score of everyone. And so she goes to Singad, and she is killing it. She's doing all the awesome things, and then then Bryn pledges, I think it's lore, and she finds out she has these abilities that other people do not have, and it completely changes her trajectory in all of life, and that a war is coming, and it comes out of nowhere, and she just basically kills it. Like, she ends up having all of these certain aspects of her life that just make her who she is, and her having these special abilities is just like amazing to hear, because she has had the worst life ever so far. But I am like halfway into, I think it's the Dragon Republic. What is it called? Yes. So right now I'm like halfway through the Dragon Republic, but I just needed some time on that because the chapters are so long that I was just like, I need a break because, yeah. But the first book is a little slow, but I think it's just an amazing first book to world build and really introduce us to the characters and everything like that. The last book I read in June was Heavenly Bodies. This book, it looks thick. How many pages is it? Yeah, it's like 500 pages. I got through this in 2 sittings. This book was amazing. So, yes, it is like a romantasy. I mean, are we shocked? I'm not. One thing I did love about this is that it has Greek mythology in it. If you know me, I love Greek mythology. But it goes through that, and then like some shadow magic. But then it also has a slow burn, and just the way in which it makes it seem like her fate is already like set in stone, but it's not at all. And again, this book, guess what, ends on a cliffhanger. Is the second book even out yet? No. I don't know why I do this to myself. It kills me. I'm in the middle of so many different series that it's just rough. So this follows, though, Alera and Lorenzo. And when I say that Enzo is, wow, he literally sets people on fire for her. Like, do I need to say more? I don't think so. And they end up falling for each other, and it's amazing. And the ending is just like, my jaw was on the ground. I cannot wait for the second book. But talk about a man who will burn the world for her, that's this. So I highly recommend. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars because it was amazing. This book, it was amazing. Rachel Gillick is such an amazing author, and she writes romantasy in ways that I've never seen romantasy writ before. Or wrote, sorry. And this is like actually a really sad book, but I thought it was amazing. And basically, so they're dreamers, and she has many names, but there are 6 of them that are considered dreamers. 6 of them are basically drowned, and while they're drowning, they dream, and their dreaming is of the person that came to them, their future, and it tells them if they're gonna have a good, bad, whatever future. And then they're like, why are we doing this? And then they start disappearing one by one. Okay, so 6 is like, I'm not dealing with this, like I need to figure out what's happening. And so they've been there for a decade. And after a decade, they're supposed to get released for free, all this stuff. So Sybil and Roderick are going on a hunt together to figure out where the other 5 diviners have gone. And they're going to the gods, everyone, to figure out what is happening and where they went. And the ending is very sad. And of course the gargoyle comes, and the gargoyle carried this book. If you haven't read this, read it just because 1, the cover's pretty, but 2, the gargoyle, he put this whole book on his back. But it was amazing. Obviously, did it end in a cliffhanger? Yes. Am I in another middle of another series? Yes. Like, how do I get out of this? But cannot wait for this next book to come out. The ending is precious, and I think it ended in, yes, a slight cliffhanger. It was just, it didn't end in as big of one as Shield of Sparrows, where I was like, bro, I need another book now. It ended in a cute one, and man, the gargoyle's story, I just feel so bad. But the abbess, like, she did not need to be doing all that rude stuff. But this is as much as I'm going to tell you, so I don't spoil it. I could talk about this book for years. The next book I read in July was called That's Not My Name. This book was one of the first books that I've read that is more like a true crime, and it made it so interesting. I definitely want to read more thrillers that are like true crime, and this follows a boy who's being falsely accused of murdering his girlfriend, and it turns out that and it's a small town, so that's another issue. But so he's being falsely accused. They're trying to figure out who it is, and then the sheriff is like, this isn't gonna be like a Jeffrey Dahmer type guy. It's like you who did it. Turns out, guess what? It is a Jeffrey Dahmer type guy, and he is murdering people left and right. And the ending is very sad, but it just reminds me of like Criminal Minds, that episode, if you guys know, where the parents are like looking for their son for over 20 years, and then they finally find them. And when their son isn't there, the guy tells them that he died 6 hours prior. That is this book. Oh my gosh. It hurts so good. Do you know what I mean? So this is by Megan Lally, and I highly recommend this book. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. If you know any books that are like this, please put it in the comments, because I need to read something like this again. This was just, it kept me on my toes, and I loved it. The next book that I read in July is called Holding the Reins by Paisley Hope. So I read this on my Kindle, so I don't have the physical copy. But I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. Again, it's a cowboy romance, but it didn't stick out to me. There was nothing that I was like, jaw on the ground, so that's why I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was a good book. There was nothing wrong with it. it just wasn't as good as other cowboy romances. And yeah, that's why I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. So Paisley Hope, I do think her writing's good, but nothing just stuck out to me, so that's why I rated it the way that I did. Okay, so now we have the Bourbon Boys series. I've read 2 out of the 3 books, and let me tell you, the things that they do with bourbon, I would like it done to me, if you know what I mean. So I read Bourbon and Lies. So I read Bourbon and Lies and Bourbon and Secrets, and then there's one other one. I forget what it's called. It's Bourbon and something. But these books are insane. So actually, I listened to these while I was building my dresser, and no lie, I was like the spice, the yearning, the everything is amazing in these books. Bourbon and Lies follows Lainey, and she falls in love with a cowboy, but she's there because she's under witness protection. And the tension between her and one of the Bourbon Boys is insane, and she finally has a reason to trust someone again. And it is a very, yes, it's a spicy, smutty book, but it is a very, heartwarming book to see her grow as a character and a person and learn how to trust people again and all of that. So I thought this was just an amazing book, and it wasn't just, smut. They had there was a great plot to it and, meaningful something. So, amazing. So now we're gonna go over Bourbon and Secrets. And these covers, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see the cover. Who knows? Oh my god. Just gorgeous. It follows Faye Calloway, and she left Fiasco, Kentucky because she was threatened by someone, one of the Fox brothers, shocker, and she ends up coming back, 1, to help her sister, but 2, to help solve this case because she is an undercover cop. And guess what she does? Burlesque. How? It is amazing. And then turns out she thought her mother died. I don't want to spoil this. So if you read this, keep listening. She thought her mother died. Her mother didn't die. She is under witness protection because these people are crazy out in Fiasco, Kentucky, was trying to murder everyone. Turns out her mother is in, I think it's Minnesota or something, and she opened up a horse protection place where people who are also in hiding or also getting out of domestic issues can go for their calm, their rehabilitation, all of that. And this was just amazing, but the spice in this book, insane. So again, what I'm saying is that there is so much spice, yet so much plot, that it is just an amazing book all around. I don't know why I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I should have rated it 5 out of 5. These books are insane. I love the Bourbon Boys. The Fox brothers. So the next books that we're going to be going over that I read in July are Spark of the Everflame and Glow of the Everflame. So again, these, look how pretty. Oh, gorgeous. Okay, the one thing that cracks me up about these books is that I was like, oh, this is a 2-book series, so I'll read that because I don't want to get into a 5 or 6 book series right now. There's 6 books in this series. What? So I've only read these 2 so far because the 3rd book is over 1,000 pages and I just didn't have that in my fun bucket to get going on that. But these books are amazing. So okay, let's start from the top. So this series, yes, of course, it's a romantasy. Yes, of course, it's a slow burn, but turns out she thought that she was mortal. She's not mortal. She's a part of the Descended. This is a huge part of her story, And she also thinks her mom is dead. Well, her mom just randomly vanished. So she doesn't know what happened to her mom. She doesn't know if her mom is dead. She doesn't know if she just went on a trip. She doesn't know anything. So then she finds out that she is of descended and she has a little brother and a dad to take care of, and then it turns out that she has become the queen. The first book of the series reminded me a lot of Poppy War because it's a building book. This has nothing really else except for world building, character building, introduction, all of that stuff. So this was amazing. Now, this book, second book of the series, there's a lot more action in it, but she's lost. She doesn't know who she is because her whole life she's been told she's immortal, now she's not immortal, and then all of a sudden she's a queen. That's a little sus, right? So she doesn't even know who she is. She just doesn't understand it, and then her mom's not there to comfort her or anything. Yeah, I'd be lost too. So she is still staying at the castle. She's still figuring herself out, but then she has to go through all these meetings. She has to do everything that a queen would do, and then they have to have a competition to figure out if she's gonna stay alive long enough to become the queen. And she doesn't know how to control her powers or even make them happen or anything. So when I say she's shit out of luck, she basically is, and I was so nervous for her to go into this competition, or challenging, sorry, that yeah, I was so nervous. But she ended up doing amazing, and I cannot wait to start the third book. This is a very, very interesting romantasy, and I feel like there's some real world issues that are also in this book that are a little hidden because it is romantasy, but amazing. I did not know it was 6 books. Now I know, but I hope to finish them in August. Phantasma. So, I read this on my Kindle, so I don't have the physical book. But Phantasma was such a crazy book. This was, I would say, a dark romance. And again, I don't know what is going on with the mothers dying or mothers going missing. There's a trend here. But the Phantasma is a game ran by a devil, basically. And there are levels that they have to go through, and her and her sister are going through the levels, but they don't know that they're both there. They're just praying that they're both there. But then while Ophelia is in the game, she falls in love with a phantom, and it turns out he's not a phantom and that he is the Prince of Devils, and he actually runs Phantasma. But anyway, this book was so entertaining, and there was a lot of conflict though, and it was like, I like you, I don't like you, I like you, I don't like you, and it was like a windshield wiper, and I was like, we need to stop and just stay with the like, you know? So I just thought this was a great book. I've never read anything like it where they have to do the challenges, and then if they don't, they immediately die. I would say it's a little bit of a horror too because of how gruesome it was, but I loved this book, and I'm already reading Enchantra, and I think I'm 45% in. Amazing, because now it's not even following Ophelia, it's following her sister, and again, amazing.